breaks?
Yes.
Look at
We
this.
have 4 breaks.
3 in the middle.
What?
There's 3 in the middle of the show.
Oh, because it's one of the, this is our town.
Yeah.
One of us.
I'm gonna shut my phone off
when are we
so
taking
that
a
we
break?
don't.
15,
Mine's off
30,
already.
45.
Yeah.
And then the last break will be
Well,
at
my
the end
thing
of
is
the
when
show.
I mute
Just give me a
it,
nod
it
when
mutes
it's
everything.
Okay, you guys
except-
look at each other like you're talking to
Sorry.
each other.
Look like we're talking.
Yeah.
Well, we can do that.
Oh yeah, we're
That's
good
all
at
we
that
do.
now.
His inspections last 4 hours because of our chats.
Well, it's because
I don't know if you inspected mine townhouse on Kaylani 8 years ago, 9 years
it would have
ago.
been. We only did this 5 years
Okay.
ago. So
The guy took about 3.5 hours, which was fabulous. He goes, the only thing I do is maybe add more insulation in
took
the.
4.5, 3.5 hours to do a townhouse.
He went through
Because
everything.
they're not you with the team
took a nap.
approach.
No, there
He
is
went
no
downstairs,
team approach.
He took a nap.
They're the only ones that do
I
that.
could do a townhouse by myself in an hour and a half, probably.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm just gonna shut up. It's okay.
You know,
It's fine.
You didn't know you met Super Wayne, right?
No, you are super
Did
right.
you ever see that?
It's Super Wayne.
No, you know what? You need a
His name.
cape.
A what? A
cape.
cape? Oh yeah.
No
Yeah,
type.
I'm
just
on
a
hero.
cape.
We'll be starting
No,
here
pick
in
the
just a
type.
few
That's
minutes,
type.
maybe about a minute more for you guys that are jumped on live. But in the meantime, enjoy the banter from Super Wayne.
Yeah, 30 seconds.
Cool.
Oh, 3 seconds. I'm scared.
Yeah, you might want to cut that all the way because you might get a little noise.
15 seconds. 10 seconds.
You give me an intro or no?
Yeah, there's gonna be an intro.
Okay. It's the first live one we did.
This is first.
Live
Oh. You picked the best for the first, huh?
one. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
There's no conceit in my family. I got all of it. You did not know what you were getting into when you met me.
Sweet baby Jesus. Pray for us all.
That's my favorite thing, sweet baby juice.
It's like Greg and I first met. I got one trouble.
Oh yeah.
Okay, something happened. Don't blame me, I swear.
What?
I had it on assist, but the next song started playing, so...
We'll
I
go
don't know.
afterwards.
Yeah.
Take it.
I don't know, I had it on assist. I did everything right, I just played the next song for some reason.
Oh, we got an extra 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yep, and we
Alright.
can go 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's nice after. That'd actually probably
We
be
could
helpful
probably go to
because
about 3 or
there's
4 in the
everything.
afternoon if you really wanted us to.
I know,
Like,
Lord, this
well,
could
we
be a
actually got things
marathon.
to do
Greg,
today.
Greg Moore marathon.
More.
More
Like
of
the
more.
what was that? The Jerry Lewis marathon he used to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
72 hours.
that
Okay.
Labor Day telethon.
Yeah.
That got to be so, after a while, this got to be so,
Yeah.
It was like,
you know.
Well, then some of the entertainment they brought in and stuff. It was
Everything
like,
works
wow,
out.
okay, already then.
Do you want to do it
Cheap
without the intro?
entertainment.
Because that's like 24
You can
seconds.
knit.
Value
All right.
engineered.
I mean, if it
Sure,
will work with
knit.
the intro, I'd prefer it.
Yeah.
But if it's giving you issues.
there wasn't a
Oh.
knitter.
No, I'm
Oh.
totally.
You know, I had such a riot with
Well, I'll
Jeff
try it
Morgan.
again.
Oh my god.
You know, I got home at
What?
night. He
Sorry.
added me to Facebook. He added me on his Facebook. I
sorry.
go, man, that didn't take long.
We're
He's a
having several
sweetheart.
conversations in this small room.
He really did. He texted me at one point and he said, "Man, that guy's great." And I said, "Well, he's got the same bromance going on with you." I said, "He thinks you are too."
Yeah.
Bromance. Do we have a bromance? No,
I
you
don't
don't have
think
a
we
man
go that
card.
far.
You can't have one.
I don't think we're going that far.
You put that Tinkerbell in your coffee. You can't have that.
I don't bromance with any guy that doesn't wear pants.
I know.
I wear pants. They're just short pants.
You wear half pants.
I have walked into Bob Evans
You
on
wear
Central.
half
A lady
pants.
yells across the country, "You have pants on today!" In front of everybody.
I'm not used to seeing you with pants on, Wayne.
So they act like I'm running around in my underwear the whole time.
I know.
No, I have short
That's the
pants. So
implication.
That's funny.
we have branded ourselves in
Pants
the
on.
business, though.
Wayne Pavlika's
Yeah.
wearing pants.
People drive by my office at 6:30 in the morning. I'm out shoveling the sidewalk in my shorts.
Oh
You know,
yeah,
they look
I
at
don't
me
doubt
like-
it. I don't doubt it. a
Tim
bit.
Fitzgerald will always say, "I've never seen him with long pants on yet." You probably won't, Tim. So
Get used to it, huh?
yeah, some people do, some people don't.
Like this weather today, this is, Michigan born and raised and menopausal, man. This is us right here. I love this.
I love the blue sky today. It's like,
I love it. I'm like,
I am
I'm all
missing-
about this weather. I shut the furnace off like yesterday.
30
So did
seconds.
Dennis comes home last night and he's like, "Damn, it's cold." I'm like, "No, it's not." Put on a sweater.
The first 7 years Lori and I were married, I swear I lived in icebox.
Yeah.
She was
Oh, yeah.
pregnant the first 7 years.
Oh
I
yeah,
thought,
you
what
can't
the-
you can't deal with it.
Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
it's just
The
too.
wa- We had a water bed back in the day. I swear I was sleeping on ice cubes. She
Yep.
didn't care about nothing else but herself. I'm like,
Sounds like
Well, actually, she was caring for.
It's on video now. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
boom, boom, there went the
Three.
bus.
Yeah. Wheels came off the bus, my friend.
Bump, bump.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Business and More. Welcome back to the second episode. So happy to have everyone here. Today, I have a very special guest. He is a business owner. He is an entrepreneur. He knows loads about business. Do you like that? A little contractor joke for you? A pun, load.
Yeah.
We have Wayne Pavlika in studio, guys. All right. So Wayne, thank you for coming to Business and More. We're just going to have a conversation about business and more. But first and foremost, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us your background, maybe a little bit about the current business that you own, and go ahead. I'll let you take
Okay,
it from there.
well, my name's Wayne Pavlika, as most people know. I do own 3 companies. I have a residential building company, which we mainly focus on remodeling. Got a home inspection business, residential home inspection business, and not too long, about 6 months ago, we started a commercial inspection business for doing commercial properties.
Okay.
So we own 3. So it was a natural fit for us to get in the inspection business from the construction business. I got 43 years of experience in the construction business.
Okay.
I've owned my building company for 32 years, going on 33 right now. So we've had that quite a while, and so that's what we do. That's our experience. All 5 of my kids work for us.
Now, I wanted to touch on that a little bit.
Okay.
This shows more of a conversational piece too. So I'm going to interrupt. You're going to interrupt. We're all friends here. But when you say something interesting, it kind of jumps into my mind, and I'll just kind of jump in and ask questions. So
Not a problem.
you
It's your
have
show.
5 family members that
Yes.
work for you, because I grew up under a family business too. It was me, my brother, my sister, my father, and my mother. It was a family business. So we relate kind of on that angle. But tell me a little bit about how it is to work with the family and how that dynamic is in
And,
a small business.
That's a good word, dynamic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I actually got 5 of my own, plus my nephew works for us. So
Okay.
technically there's 6. Everybody has their roles. We always joke that we all work for Lori, right? She runs the office.
And that's your wife.
Yeah, and she runs the office. So, that's her deal. We always joke that she's pen and paper, I'm sticks and bricks. Okay? I'm the guy that's out in the field. I'm the guy that does all sales and estimating. She runs the office. I leave that up to her. I don't cross her path, and basically she doesn't try to cross mine too much either. So I have one daughter that works in the office with her.
Okay.
She just graduated from college a year or so, maybe a year and a half ago now. She helps Lori with the books and running the business. My other daughter works full-time marketing for our inspection company. Then my 3 boys, they're all certified home inspectors, and they 2 of them concentrate more on that. Corey, my youngest son, actually that's all he does is inspection work. Alex is number 2. He does a lot of inspections. He's been doing inspections the longest with me, and then Dakota. But I still run a construction company, which, if for some time we get a lapse, I take one of those boys with me and we go out and do some of that work too. So yeah,
Sure.
so everybody's got their duties and their jobs, and yeah, it's pretty dynamic in there.
Let's talk about your marketing just a little bit. Who did you say runs your marketing department at Inside Out?
Sammy.
Samantha.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I find I have a lot of young entrepreneurs, a lot of young business owners, and they go, I've got a great idea. I might have a great location. They have the work ethic, but it's hard for me to kind of unify a brand. And if there's anyone that can brand themselves in Monroe County, it's you guys. I mean, look at this hat. If for those of you watching live on Facebook, bright yellow, neon yellow hats. You guys all have the same logos on the trucks, on the shirts, on the hats. And branding is such an important part of a business nowadays as well, too, just having that unified brand. And I just wanted to give a shout out to Samantha because I'm a realtor. We work together, full disclosure. You've inspected some of the homes I've represented for both buyers and sellers, and you guys do a fantastic job. But I will get almost on a monthly or bi-monthly basis either an update on what's going on in the company, maybe a discount card, maybe a thank you note. But you guys are touching me as a realtor, and I suspect you're touching your customers and clients the same way, probably 6 to 8 times a year at least. which keeps you in my mind as a realtor, you know, and as a client, I know would too. So can you talk a little bit about how that came about and how because you have very strong marketing for a small business in Monroe County. So talk about that a little bit.
You know, we belong to a group out of Houston that's all it is about inspection companies and how they build them and how you do all this stuff. We were part with one, then we switched over to a different one.
Okay.
It's all about the business. You know, it's like any business, what we call, like, let's go back calling sticks and bricks, right? Go out and inspecting a house is the easy part, right? That's a piece of cake. Just go out there and do what we do, right?
Right.
It's the business end of it that is tough. So, you know, plagiarism from other companies, what we see, we're on some Facebook, some other inspection groups with them.
Yeah.
So we found out this is what you need to do. So it's very implemental that Sam actually gets out there and sends you emails and keeps in constant contact with you. You know, what can we do as a company to help you save money and time? Sure. What's out there new, you know, and all the events and stuff that we do. So it's a very tough job.
Sure.
She spends all day doing it. We have another full-time marketing lady that goes out and visits people too, visits real estate offices and stuff. So the more we can keep in touch with you and help you out, the more you're going to enjoy what our services are all about and how we can, you know, it's about helping each other really, you know.
Yeah.
So it's tough. I mean, it's not as easy as people think it is.
I found in my experience owning businesses, being around people who own businesses too, sometimes that part of the business is sometimes set aside as you get the location going or you get the idea or you maybe trying to get funding or investment, that the marketing and the branding aspect is sometimes pushed to the side for these young entrepreneurs. And sometimes I think that might even be the most important piece of a business is having that recognizable brand or that recognizable marketing tool out there. And you found it in your daughter.
Right.
But I mean, would you tell people who are looking at opening a business or starting a business or expanding a business that how do you go about maybe going out there and finding that person? Is it interns? Is it family? Is it, you know what I mean? What was your experience in that when you said, okay, we're gonna run this family business, but we need, you know, inspectors and marketing and office and labor and all that. Did you just turn to the family or did you look outside first and then turn into the family?
You know, it's funny. We only had 5 kids. I wish I had 10. You know, for that purpose.
Make a couple
it
more
sure is easy
employees.
when it's easy when you employ your own to a point. Sam was a natural fit. She went to the University of Cincinnati with Taylor, and they both got business degrees, you know.
Sure.
But all of a sudden, she found her niche was kind of in marketing.
Yeah.
So I think with marketing and trying to build your business, like you say, brand it. What's the one thing? It's the most important part about building your business, but it's the part that people don't want to spend money on.
Right.
You know, and you got to be real careful. I think you just can't go out and spend thousands of dollars, but you have to make sure you're making money to pay for all this stuff. You know.
Okay.
And your first years in business are going to be tough. No one's easy. I wouldn't even want to tell you how much money we spent marketing in 5 years. Is it paying off? Yeah, it does. Yeah. So it's kind of like a delayed gratification type deal.
Sure.
You know, so what you put in is what you're gonna, you reap what you sow, basically, right?
Right. Yeah.
So with that in mind, it's like she has to, she looks at all the time of what's supposed to be going on, and
sure,
Corey's an integral part of the, the Facebook page and anything that has to do with all that stuff. But it is hard.
Let me ask you this, because I ask every business owner this, and I especially love it if it's a small to medium-sized business, because you have to make the dollar stretch. Heck, you got to make the dollar stretch no matter how big the business is, I guess, but you really make it stretch when it's small to medium. And when I say medium, I'm usually talking under 500 employees. Mm-hmm. What do you feel is the most effective forms of advertising for you? Whether it be print, internet, direct mail, radio, billboard, all these different avenues, because I've had that asked of me a lot. Some of the people I mentor, and then obviously when I'm being mentored and I started my business, I went, I've got this money. Where do I put it for the most effective? It might change from profession to profession, but for you guys, where do you find the most effective dollar?
Well, in any business, word of mouth is your number one,
absolutely,
and your most cost-effective resource, right?
Sure.
So building relationships is huge. What do we have to do to build those relationships? So you'll spend money, you'll put some money in there to devote to that, right?
Right.
But you're also going to do a lot of hit and miss. You're going to say, like with our inspection community out of Houston, what works south, down in Texas and everything, might not work effectively up here. The economic climate's a lot different in all different areas. So yeah, we were visiting 100 real estate offices a month.
Yeah.
We have candy bowls in there, so we fill the candy bowl
so
up.
face to face was really
and we put
effective.
we put our information. So the more you see us, the more you understand us, right?
Sure.
And so all those little, like you say, the emails and everything else, yeah, all the papers, all the stuff we do, it's like when we work with the autism, we work for, breast cancer, we donate to all those. That kid keeps on getting her name out there. So you got to get your name out there a lot.
Sure.
And it's, you start looking at how much money you spend, you go, oh my gosh, you could have bought a new truck with that much money, or I
Right.
could have bought this and that. But you got to look at it long term.
Sure. It's laying the foundation. Yeah.
You got to. I mean, everything's built on a good, strong foundation, right? Everything from your life to everything, correct?
Yeah.
So I think with young entrepreneurs, the hardest part is to say, I want what they got, but you're not going to get it tomorrow. It's
Right.
going to take a while to do that. And it's like I said, it's difficult, but you got to have. I always tell people you got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Okay.
Right.
In other words, you should listen more than you talk.
Sure.
And if you want to, and like I tell people, if you want to be successful, try to do what the successful people do.
Right.
And follow what they're doing, and it's not hard to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might not like what they do, but sometimes they're highly successful. Maybe you need to, change.
I've seen a trend too. There's a gentleman named Gary Vaynerchuk that I follow, and he is a entrepreneur. He runs more of a social media platform business now on how to market social media. But he came up as a family-owned business in the wine business, grew his dad's business from $3 million to about $30 million in the first 3 years. Became a wine tasting show, first one on Hulu to do 10 million views as a young guy. But he has this mantra, this thing that he says, no one cares about your failures or your success. Just get out there and work and do it. And you can't have that attitude of, like you said, I want something, I'm starting now, but I want everything right now.
Right.
It might be 5, 8, 10 years. You're going to fail 10, 20 times before you get there. But it's that delayed gratification, which I think is a very important type of work ethic that we have to instill in business owners and especially young entrepreneurs as well too. They see the success case of, he had an idea and he got a round of $2 million worth of angel investing, and now he's, those are like winning the lottery.
Right.
99% of your business owners are grinding it out every day, putting in 14, 16-hour days, taking the calls and making the calls that no one else wants to. And I just feel the more people that we can expose to that type of work ethic that just goes, look, I know I have a work ethic, I know I do a good job, I know I have a good idea, and then just keep grinding towards that goal. That seems to be the roadmap for success in most cases.
It is. You own a company. You don't work 8 to 5. Okay.
Right.
It's 7 days a week. It's 24 hours a day. It's 365 days a year, right? And it's not just so much the business. You got to remember the financials, everybody getting paid and everything else. I always told people, if my wife didn't run the office, I wouldn't own a company.
Yep.
That is not my ideal. I cannot handle that stuff. I would be a basket case. I'd be someone, and but that's our strength and our weaknesses. I think sometimes when you own a business, you have to understand what your strengths or weaknesses
Absolutely.
are, and you got to learn how to delegate. Which is hard sometimes. It's like, well, I always want to do it. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
If I have an idea, I'm like you. My brain just goes crazy. I have wild ideas, and I'll go back to the office and I'll say, hey, Sam, what do you think about this? Or Corey, what do you think about that? I might have a good idea. I just might not know how to get there.
Sure.
Okay, but they've got that roadmap that they know how to get there and do it. Or they just look at me and say, Dad, you're crazy. And I have no argument for that, okay? So at the end of the day, I think it's a lot more when people say, oh, they see me leave at noon on Friday or something. Oh, it must be nice. Well, yeah, it's pretty nice, but I probably got 60 hours in it for the week, right?
Right.
But they
And
didn't
it's Wednesday.
they didn't see that all during the week. They only see what they see. They don't understand what goes on behind the scenes.
Well, knowing your role, delegation, those are all leadership roles. We're going to talk more about that. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back with Wayne Pavlika of Inside Out Inspections.
It's flying, isn't it?
How long do you...
Time's flying.
When I did my other show, I
long
got
did we break
speakers
for?
in. I said it's going to be the fastest hour you ever spent in your life.
Yeah.
I looked up at that clock. I go, oh my gosh, we've been through 15, 20 minutes.
You
so
guys
far.
are doing an excellent job. Greg,
But-
I'm so glad I'm here to witness what you're doing. This really
Well,
helps me
The
as a
chemistry
salesperson.
is awesome, and
Yeah.
you both have so much information to share.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, it must be nice. I carved 2 hours out last Friday. I think that's the last time I had 2 hours, and I watched a movie on television. I was like,
Yeah.
holy.
I know we've
We
been
might get
trying to get
into
together to do
On
something.
the next section,
forever,
Wayne,
and we
maybe get
can't do it.
into just skills,
15
trades a
seconds.
little bit, what you're seeing in that industry,
Yeah.
and maybe get into a little
Yeah.
more of your construction past, if you don't mind.
10 seconds.
Yeah, that we want to touch base on what more the boys do too. You know, kind of like Lori just
Five,
said, hey, say more about the
four.
boys and stuff. So
3, 2, 1.
Well, we're back with Wayne Pavlika on Business and More. We're talking about business, entrepreneurship, best practices, and we have a great guy in studio today, lots of experience. Wayne Pavlika, we started talking about your business-owned, your family-owned business, excuse me. We talked a little bit about your wife, who is the office manager, pretty much. Is that the official title?
I don't know.
The boss?
Yeah,
as
the
we call
boss.
it?
That's the best way to
Okay,
leave
Samantha
that.
in marketing. But let's get on the other half of your family. You've got a couple sons and a nephew out in the field actually doing the inspections. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that came about? And maybe for people who don't know what home inspectors are, the qualifications for that and what that entails.
Oh, it's huge because I tell you what, my 3 boys are awesome inspectors, unbelievable, over the top. And you know, when you go out there and you work with them and you're training them, we're learning. Alex and I did the first inspection together. Our first inspection, we were scared to death. We didn't know, we doing the right thing, we doing the wrong thing, you know. And we took, you know, we're certified through International, which is National Association of Certified Home Inspectors, which is the largest recognized group in the United States, right?
Okay.
So we have to become certified. We got continuing ed classes and everything else we have to do. So, I mean, right now, you know, you ever think that, okay, letting the boys take over more and more, they do more inspections than I do now. But they do such a great job out there, I have nothing to worry about.
Sure.
Honestly, because I get compliments on them all the time. Alex did a presentation down in Finley yesterday for a group of realtors. The lady calls, the first thing is the best breakfast we've ever had.
Yep.
So my wife made this breakfast thing, and the casserole thing, they ate it. But then they said the young man that did the presentation did a phenomenal, over-the-top job.
Sure.
I hear that all the time with my boys, all the time. I said, you know, so as a dad, as
Makes
a
you
parent,
proud, too.
Yes,
And
it
a
does.
business owner,
So
absolutely.
you go, oh my gosh, it's sunk in, you know. So they
got
do,
through.
you know. It's like Corey, you know. It's like I get these wild ideas. Corey, what do you think? You know, and he'll either tell me I'm crazy or, you know, he'll run with it. But
Sure.
you know, he knows how to do that stuff. I don't. You know, so the boys are, when it comes to them, we all have our roles.
Sure.
I think we know what they are. But yeah, the boys have they've done a great job. And I think all the realtors are happy with what they do and how they handle it.
And maybe for some of the listeners that don't know, can you briefly walk us through what an inspection might be on a residential or commercial home, which is the majority of your business?
Yeah, we did last year, it's our 5th year, we did 1,110 home inspections.
Wow.
Yeah, you say wow, that's
Wow.
a lot, right?
Yeah.
And we
I
run
wish I sold 1,110 homes last
Me
year.
too, because I would do 1,110.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, 1,110, we never thought about it. You know, we kept on, our numbers kept growing like crazy. The first year we did 139, I think, or 179. Second year we did like 370. Our third year we did 475. Our fourth year we did 701, and last year we did 1,110. Of course, as a business owner, everybody knows you set goals, right?
Sure.
So I said I'd like to do 1,800 this year. And that comes from a lot of marketing, a lot of things to do that.
What are you on pace to do? What are you watching those
We've
numbers?
had a really good
Are you
January,
close to that?
February.
Are you? Okay.
We're a little behind,
Okay.
okay?
All
Because
right.
you haven't done your job yet. So. You've been selling like crazy,
Right.
but you know, you're one of the millions.
I'll get you a couple more.
Yeah, there you
All right.
go. So, yeah, it's like a residential home inspection. A lot of people, I had someone say, why do you need a home inspection? You know, we went through this with Jeff the other day on the show and says, my gosh. I said, when you start talking about the average cost of a home inspection be around $350 with no ancillary inspections attached, you buy a $200,000 house, what's $350 percentage-wise of what the value of that home is? We get in there and find things that are wrong. It doesn't take us long for you to get your $350 back. You know,
Yeah.
because we're there basic, when you do a home inspection, commercial residential, you're there to find what? The
Sure.
defects. You know, where's the guys that's like, oh my gosh, they suck the fun out of this thing, and they're telling me everything is wrong. Well, that's what you hired me to do.
Right.
Right? Another guy said, you know, there are negotiable items in everything, and there's non-negotiable items in a home inspection when they go back to you to say, we got to negotiate, now we found these things. So you know, like in a residential home inspection, people say, what do you do? I said, well, the first thing we do is climb the roof.
Yeah.
You know, we inspect everything in the roof, soil flashings, chimney flashings, there's condition, the shingles, everything we can possibly find in that. Then we go on the outside, we check the whole outside with gutters, downspouts, siding, caulking, brick, plast, you know, ephes.
Sure.
It doesn't matter what it is, the grade. sidewalk, steps, everything on the outside of the house. And then basically, when we go inside, this is my pregame speech I usually give everybody. I said, listen, if it's an occupied home, we're non-invasive, which means we won't touch anybody's personal belongings, period.
Right.
Okay? But when we go in a house, we'll check every plug, we'll check every switch, every window, every door. We fill the sinks with warm water, release and check all under cabinet plumbing. We check tub drains, shower heads, make sure everything's tight and fastened. We check the garage door openers, the auto reverses, the manual, and the photo cell. We check that. We get to take the electrical panel cover off, make sure everything's proper in there. We take the furnace apart, check all that, date code it. Same thing with the hot water tank, air conditioner. If it's above 65, below 65, can't run air conditioner, right? So we get in the crawl space. If there's a crawl space, we check beams, piers, check for termite, any kind of wood destroying organism. We get in the attics, make sure there's no leakage, make sure bathroom exhaust fans are terminated properly. So basically, it's way over 300-point inspection.
Sure.
When we get done, you get a computer-generated report with pictures and description of everything that we find.
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest things, when we do home inspection, we team approached it. Okay.
Okay.
We don't send.
Well, what do you
one.
mean by that?
We send 2 inspectors every inspection.
Sure.
The number one thing is safety. Okay, so if someone's on a roof, they fall off. At least someone's there to haul them away, I guess.
Sure.
So that's what I told Dakota the other day. I climbed on one of yours legs. I climbed up on the roof. I'm up there wandering around, and my old sea legs are not like they used to be. They used to call me Roof Ninja back in the day because I just climb anything. And so we do it for safety. You get in a crawl space, someone's always there. Plus, you got 2 sets of eyes.
Right.
And, we can bounce things back and forth of each other. Say, hey, come over here. What do you think about this or whatever? So, the 2 team, which also helps you as a realtor, if you're going to be there, you don't have to be there for 4 hours. You can be there an hour and a half, basically. Clients in his house, the seller doesn't have to be gone all afternoon. They can be gone a couple hours and they're happy, right?
Sure. Yep.
And then the buyer usually, if you give them a half hour, an hour of time, they're pretty much, they're ready. They're done, unless they got a million questions, which we don't care. So our whole goal is to be able to teach, educate people about their purchase.
Sure.
Okay. That's why the nice thing about 2 inspectors, one can continue. I could take a client and go through, we could talk about all the mechanicals or things that we find. Because the picture is deceiving. If I can show you something in person, it's a lot better than you looking at a picture. I always joke with people, it's like that car on Craigslist. The picture looks immaculate,
great,
brand new.
doesn't it?
You go there, you pull up and you go, what happened to the car in the picture?
Yeah.
So a picture.
Or a date on Tinder, I hear.
Yeah.
But I don't know, honey. I'm married. Happily
He's
married.
bailing out. He's bailing out on that one.
No, but so
Left her.
I think you said something very important too. As a realtor, I see this all the time, and I still will hire you guys even for my own personal home because I've never understood. And this goes back to owning a business too. Get the professional for each thing that you're doing. I see sometimes a business owner or a family business will maybe sometimes spread themselves thin by trying to do things themselves. Now, you might be in a unique position since you have family that is actually, have degrees in what they're doing,
Right.
And licenses in what they're doing. But sometimes maybe a 1 or 2 person business might stretch themselves thin and not use the professional or pay and go, oh, well, I'll just do it myself, save myself money. And it's like, well, maybe that's a little short-sighted because if you don't have a good marketing team, sales team, growth and income strategy team, things like that, you might be saving a couple $100 or a couple $1,000, but what are you costing yourself in the long run? And to go back to your point about spending the $350, I had a really fun experience actually with Alex and doing one of my inspections just this last fall. I had a gorgeous house down in Lambertville, and inside and outside looked spectacular. We had an offer on it. I was representing the buyer. Corey says, let me get into the crawl there, and we had to dig out a little bit. He went the extra mile there and got into the crawl, came out. And he had a piece of the sill plate about this long, and that thing looked like it had just, racetrack all the way through, termites.
Right.
And about 50% of the sill plate running along the front end of the crawl was about 75% chewed up. Now, you really couldn't see any grading issues or anything from from outside, but that was a major problem. Probably within the next year, you'd have $20,000 worth of repair damage, okay? And we ended up negotiating with the seller. We couldn't come to an agreement, but my buyer was protected on a potentially $20,000 to $25,000 repair job on a $350 inspection. So there is value there.
Right.
And I asked Alex, can I keep that? So I have that little sill plate, and I glued it to it's a nice little looking trophy thing, and I keep it in my office. And when people walk in, they go, what's that? And then I tell them the story. they're sold on an inspection, and I want them to be sold on an inspection because I represent them. If I represent the seller or the buyer, I want them to have the best experience possible. The best way you can do that is protect yourself with a home inspection. So I believe in them, and that's just one of the many examples that we've had. But such a great visual example of those termites just chewing through that 2x, or what? Maybe a 2x4, maybe 2x6.
2x8 probably.
2x8, yeah. But so we've talked about your business. We've talked about the family. I kind of want to get into philanthropy a little bit because when I'm located in Temperance, Michigan. So are you. But when I go through Monroe County, I see your name and your business name on just about everything when it comes to charities, sponsorships, community outreach groups, nonprofits. And I always see this connection between successful business owners and charitable donation and giving back to the community. I don't see too many successful business owners that are really stingy with their money when it comes back to giving the community. But on the other side of that, I see a lot of successful business owners, and then you look, and they also have a very big giving wing of their business, I guess I would say. Now, obviously, you use that money, with intelligence, and you're just not giving to everything. But you're involved in a lot of stuff in the community. And we're going to talk about that right after we get back with this break. More with Wayne Pavlika in a few minutes.
Nice job.
I figured I'd get a teaser there since we were coming up. That was going to be a long answer, so we're coming up on 10:30.
Can we turn the air conditioning on?
Um,
No.
You're so funny.
You don't want me to take my sweatshirt off. I got a cut-off T-shirt. I'm going to the gym after this. I texted Greg this morning.
Between the shorts and the cutoff
Yeah,
T-shirt.
that might be. Yeah.
No, we're good. We'd be good.
Well, I
We would be good.
texted Greg this morning.
Do you want-
I thought you were going to do that. And I'm
Oh,
going,
Wayne,
Yeah,
you're
but
gonna
we're
ask me
here
to-
up
You're going to
here.
ask me to fan you, aren't you? I can feel it coming.
the what?
You were going to ask me to fan you.
Would you please?
Oh my gosh, you asked him to one radio
Yeah, but
show, prima donna.
I'm telling you, sales.
We took out all the
sales
green
director-
M&Ms for you too in your rider, so it
Yeah.
exactly
No,
like
we're
And
I
not
only
wanted.
white
either.
flowers in your
15
dressing
seconds.
room.
Oh,
Yeah, only white
got
flowers
it.
in your dressing room, Wayne.
Yeah, I spent
10
20 minutes
seconds.
doing my hair this morning.
It paid off. It paid
It
off.
is a
Alright.
tough project.
4, 3, 2, 1.
So we're back with Wayne Pavlika from Inside Out Inspections. Thanks for listening, everybody. We were talking about, before the break, we were talking about philanthropy and giving back to the community as a business owner. And I know Wayne and his business, they do a lot of giving back. I see them all over the place on charitable organizations and outreach groups. And I just want to talk a little bit about that, Wayne, your philosophy on that. I know that we're both partners with the autism, turning April blue for autism. We have a gentleman, his name's Jim Nyhan, down in Bedford Township, who has a son who's on the spectrum. We do a lot of stuff with him, and I think this will be your second or third year involved in that, correct?
I think it's third year, yes.
But just speak a little bit about your philosophy when it comes to giving back to the community, because like I said, I do see your name everywhere. So where's that connection at for maybe young entrepreneurs and business owners that are listening right now?
Well, in any community you grow up in, you got to give back to that community.
Sure.
I don't care what anybody says. And if you don't, then, does it help? Yeah, the more your name's out there, the more people see it, right? But they just don't want to see it as you're just a business guy trying to drum up more business. So you're, like we look at the autism, the breast cancer, and all the other things we do is we think of it as a good way. We are blessed in our business beyond unbelievable measures, right?
Yeah.
So, pay that forward a little bit, so we do. In fact, we actually got, last year we donated to Jim's deal up here.
Okay, yep.
But we also have a realtor down in Toledo, because we do a lot of work in Toledo,
Okay.
60-mile radius basically from our office, with some stretches to that. She had a son that had autism. We never knew it. So found out that when we started doing the autism thing that she had one. So we kind of do a 50-50 deal. So,
Okay.
So what we do is we take an X amount of dollars per inspection and we donate it for autism.
Sure.
And then sometimes if I didn't feel like we hit what we should be, then we kind of like buffer a little bit,
Sure.
Obviously then too, you have to be real careful with your donation money.
Sure.
Some people think there's an endless checkbook there, and because once they see it, everybody, they come up and hit you. So we have to be real careful. And I don't even, I got approached the other day and I said, forward it to Sam.
Right.
They'll make the decision in the office, not me out in the field, right?
Sure.
So yeah, it's very important to be part of your community, whatever you can do, You know,
See, I look at it as like philosophically, and I even said this when I'm raising a family in a community, I own a business in a community, I'm an elected official in a community. It's almost self-serving in a sense. Like, you almost have to take care of your community because your community is what's taking care of you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's kind of a catch-22. So it's from a philosophical standpoint, or even from like a vision standpoint. When you own a business, I just don't understand businesses that won't reinvest in the community that's supporting them. I'm sure if you pulled numbers, I would probably say the majority of your business probably comes from Monroe County, or at least the surrounding area, the area that you support
Right.
financially, correct?
Right.
So it's kind of this thing where I've always preached on it and just really tried to hammer it into maybe first-time business owners too, that there is a very important symbiotic relationship between your business and your community, because they do support each other.
Right.
And sometimes that's just not in financial giving. It's not cutting a check. I mean, I've seen you at things too, setting this up and tearing those chairs down, and just being part of the community in events is a big thing too.
Well, I think like a young business owner just starting out, sometimes like you just said, you don't have to do a monetary donation. Physically go out and help if you can. That means a lot too. There's a lot of people that just need someone moving this, moving that. So there's a lot to say about that too. So when you're growing your business, you might not be able to do it the first 3 or 4 years, but go physically do what you can do, whatever you can do, and then maybe later, down the road, you build your business up, and then maybe you can make those donations and stuff. So yeah, it's just being active in your community. It's just huge,
Yeah.
So,
Well, let's shift gears here a little bit. I'm always interested in this just because I'm around, like at Monroe County Community College, superintendents, things like that. When we're talking education and training the future workforce, we're seeing a big deficit in skilled trades. And you're in the construction field. We didn't really touch on that part of it. I know you said you own a business 43 years in construction, correct?
I got 43 years in the construction industry. My business is going on 33 now.
So we have this big deficit, especially in Michigan. I think for every one that's going into skills trade, we have 10 or 12 opportunities on pretty decent paying jobs. In a 3 or 4 year apprenticeship, you're making well over 6 figures. Debt free. There's really no post-secondary education in the way of a university or college needed. And I feel like that we're getting back to that trend a little bit, where it's becoming a little, these 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids coming out of high school are looking at it and going, okay, this could be a really, a nice career path for me. Instead of the previous 10 or 20 years, it's pretty much been one thing. You got to go to post-secondary, go to, get a 4-year, which is great. But,
Right.
College isn't for everyone. And now we have this big deficit. So you're in the construction industry. Can you talk a little bit about, are you seeing any shortages in labor or any issues? Or, I don't know, just give us your view on where you think that industry is going and how we could fix that problem.
Well, let's put it this way: the people getting in the trades is going way south. There's I think, I don't want anybody to take this from, but a lot of people have been told that once you get out of high school, you got to go to college to be somebody to do something, right?
Yeah.
So they go to college and they spend a lot of money, where they, like you said, they get in the trades, go to apprenticeship program 4 years, and they're out making a really good living. Probably have 401k, and they got they got hospitalization, but they don't see that. But the other thing is, it's not easy work. You know what I mean? It's not sit behind a desk with your pen and paper and get, stay clean all day long. You're going to come home looking like you went through the war. You know what I mean? And I've done it, I still do it, But you talk to I talked to a lot of people. A friend of mine is a shop teacher over at Mason High School, Keith Long. I'm part of his advisory committee for his construction through the state. And we meet once a year to go over what he's doing. And I was just telling Keith about that the other day. I said, there's so much work out there. There's tons of work. The problem is we don't have people to do the jobs.
Yeah.
And so Keith was saying, I said, I don't think we have enough. I don't know if there's enough interaction to the high school students about what's out there and what can be done. I think, I used to do this at the junior high, and we used to go there once a year and we talk about, what's available out there in the trades. I'm sorry, but a junior high kid doesn't have a clue what's going on in life, Yeah.
Right.
I'm sorry, most of the high school
I'm
seniors.
still figuring it out. I'm 37.
Yeah. But most high school kids haven't figured out what career path they want to go. So you start talking about the industry and they're like, well, this and that. Well, you get a few that are interested because maybe their dad's electrician or he's a plumber, pipe fitter, or whatever. It just amazes me. And, I wasn't a college kid, okay?
Yeah.
That's why I lean on everybody else to do this stuff, that I was brought up with common sense and work ethic.
Yeah.
I'm at 62 years old. I work most people on the ground still. You know,
Yeah.
hard-headed as can be, stubborn,
Yeah.
everything else, right? Yeah. So that's what they say. So anyway, a lot of people don't want to do that, you know.
Yeah.
So they have to understand, you know, you gotta go back and you gotta bust it.
You know what's amazing is I'll give a little shout out to Tom Bell here too. He's a teacher out at Monroe High School, and they just instituted a program where I believe it was either the city or maybe Monroe Township. I can't remember where the parcel was, but they essentially donated it to the school. And for the junior and seniors, their shop or construction grades class, they're building a house,
Right.
obviously with the correct supervision from the basement up.
Right.
And they had to add classes because there was so much interest in that. It was funny. I was telling my dad, "Oh, they're doing this new thing." He goes, "New thing? We did that in the 70s, like
They did.
60s, 70s, up until the mid 80s. I mean, shop class, construction, trades, and then we just kind of dropped the ball on it. It feels like from an education standpoint, swung the pendulum the other way. So there are some good things happening in Monroe County too, to where I think they're just now putting the roof on it. It's been about I think it's on the second semester, but it's funny. You just got to expose those younger kids to that area and go, oh no, it is hard work, like you say. But I'll tell you what, it's also therapeutic. You know, correct. You know, tell me what you think about this. But there's something about, you know, I'm a realtor, so a lot of my time's on an iPad, behind a computer, writing a contract. I get out a little bit, show some houses, things like that. But there's something, I think, there's a lot of white collar stuff involved in construction as well too. You're going to be doing some paperwork, you're going to be filling out some forms.
Yeah.
You got a partner the day one you open up called the federal government. He's
Right.
going to take half of whatever you make. So
Yeah.
get used to filling out those forms.
I don't fill those out. I told you I'm sticks and bricks.
Sticks and bricks.
Who fills out the papers?
That's right. Yeah,
Lori
Lori
does.
does.
Gotcha. I'll educate you yet.
Yeah, but so I think I agree with you that if we can get that message, you know, to those kids too, which I think sometimes it takes a generation, and it takes that 15, 20 years to where now you see, you know, 8, 9, 10 years ago we started looking at this. Now we're starting to see some of those people who've graduated apprenticeships. They're in a pretty well-paying job in an industry that's in demand. And, you know, the younger kids, or maybe even now, then their kids will look and go, oh yeah, the pendulum will start evening back out. And we're not pushing everyone in one direction for post-secondary education. But it's just nice to see the balance, you know?
Yeah.
I don't ever try to call one or other, you know, I don't look at someone and go, oh, you should do that, or you can only do that. Every kid's different, every worker's
Right.
different, but it's nice to see that coming back into focus. Have you had any trouble with labor or anything like that? Or
It's horrible.
that's what everyone says. See, it's
And
like,
you know, you'll hear from everybody. I don't care where you're at. I don't care what business you're in. You hear it's the labor's the hard part. Work ethic has gone right down the
Sure.
drain with a lot of them, and there's too many expectations. They don't know a whole lot, and they think they should get big money. Well, you got to start at the bottom. You always start at the bottom and work your way up.
Sure.
And a lot of people don't want to start there. I don't want to start there, and but I had to somewhere,
Yeah.
right? And I can tell you my whole career what I started out doing, some of the things that I still do to this day. You know, because in all of our businesses, I use the philosophy that we have to be willing to do what our competition won't to succeed.
Sure.
Okay, that's my theory. If, you know, I said on my other show, I said no, can't, won't is reason to call the competition. So you start thinking about that, and so, you know, if you want to build your business, you just got to say, hey, we got to do it for the good of it. Either way you like it or not. Sometimes it's only temporary. You know, it could be small.
Yeah.
But you know, I think what my thing was when I got into construction, what I really liked is at the end of the day, I could see what I did.
See, exactly.
You know, I accomplished something, and I go, wow, that's really cool.
Yep.
You know, it might have been frustrating along the line or something, but at the end of the day, I could always see that I accomplished something that
Sure.
kind of gave me a little pat on the back. You know, I said, that's really cool. And then the biggest thing is when, a customer sees what you do, and they just, oh, I love that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit more rewarding. So that's
Yeah.
kind of like the pluses. But I think I would like to see somehow, like career days at schools, but get, like I know down in Toledo they got Penn County, right?
Sure.
And they do a lot of training for these kids. And I think, that we have to get, somehow you got to get connection so these kids in high school understand what the opportunities are out there better,
Sure.
than just hearing it from,
No, absolutely.
some certain individuals. And I think, you have to have an open mind, right?
I do know from a county aspect, when I'm in some like economic development meetings and things like that, there is a big focus on that. There was, and the name's slipping my mind, but in Howell, Michigan, They had a huge I mean, they go out on 800 acres. They bring in bulldozers. I mean, everything from excavating to finish work. They've got this all laid out. They've got tents, and they have about 1,000 kids come up from all these schools. And I think Monroe High and a couple, I think Bedford Public Schools brought a few kids up there too. But it's just 2, 3 here and there. I think we could see 20 or 30 going up there in the future. So there is a little bit of a effort to, like you said, expose them, and they're going as far down as I think 8th and 9th grade too, to kind of get expose them in the skilled trade. But I want to switch gears a little bit because I didn't ask you this at the top of the hour. Did you grow up in a family business, or where were you like from, let's say 12 to 22? Like what were you doing there? Was it just odd jobs in the summer? Were connected to a certain type of industry?
I had nothing to do with the construction business growing up. Okay, so I was like, 12. What was I doing? I was a caddy at a golf course, okay? At 15, the day I turned 15, I went to work at a restaurant. And believe it or not, and the kids laugh, I was a cook for 2.5 years. I started as a dishwasher, didn't like that. I always looked at something, what's my best, if I'm going to be somewhere for 8 hours, where's my best opportunity to make money? Sure. It wasn't washing dishes. I said, I'm going to go out there and be a busboy. And I know this is going to sound really weird, but I was so shy and introverted, I couldn't go out there with people. So.
You an introvert?
Believe it or not.
Well, hold on, Wayne. We're going to stop you right there. We're going to take a quick break, our final break before the hour is up. But when we come back, more with Wayne Pavlika on Inside Out Inspections.
Hard to believe, isn't it?
Oh my God, I'm in total
No,
disbelief
I
over
was
here.
totally into it.
I was
Until I got involved in the speech, debate, radio side of one of the classes.
Yeah.
And then my mother went, why did I encourage you?
Yeah. Well, I used to have to get drunk to talk to people. My very first estimate I walked into, I drove up to the driveway. I was praying to God, they're not home. Don't be home. No, show me. Don't show me. Don't be. Oh, God, they're home. I walked up and knocked on the door, and I about crap myself. Oh, my God, they're home. It's like, oh, geez, what do I do now? But through doing it, you learn.
Yeah, you cross
that.
You face the fear.
And you do, and the more you do it, it's like
the confidence builds.
Yeah, it's like my kids when like Alex and everybody, Sam did her first realtor presentation from a bunch of people. She's, I
10
did
seconds.
very good. I said, well, the more you do it, everybody's sitting there with jealousy. You can.
You gonna talk about your show?
5 seconds.
We can. We can throw something.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everyone, to Business and More. We have Wayne Pavlika in studio, Inside Out Inspections, and we were just talking a little bit about his background. And on the break, you were talking a little bit, and maybe you can mention it as we move into other subjects here in the final 15 minutes of the program. You were talking about how you were kind of introverted when you first started in the business and then kind of went extroverted, and you just didn't feel like maybe you had the personality for that profession. Can you speak to that a little bit? Because I know there's a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs that wear a lot of hats, right? You own a business, you wear about 50 different hats, and sometimes you don't have the personality that really fits maybe that hat you're supposed to wear. So how do you overcome that?
Well, that's why I always laugh. Talking about hats, that's why I got no hair. I rubbed it off, changed hats all day long, right? So I'm a little follically challenged up on top of the old gourd there, So, that is tough. But, when I first started doing it, I was just joking with them. I said, my very first estimate, I prayed that they weren't home. Yeah. And they were home. I went knocked on the door, and I got even more scared. But, you have to face your fears, and you just got to, it wasn't like I didn't know what I was doing, but it was brand new to me. Sure. So the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
And how old were you then on that first estimate when you got into, what age were you?
30.
Okay.
In my 30s.
And what were you doing before then?
I was just doing my own thing, but I mean, it's just little stuff, I don't want to get anything. The first time I went to go bid an audition, oh my gosh, I thought the world came to an end, It's like, oh my God. But it was like anything. It was talking in front of people. I was actually the president of the Bedford Business Association for a while, and I had to get up and talk in front of people. So the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. Yeah. I had a previous radio show I did for 6.5 years, and my very first show, my son was down in St. Louis playing semi-pro soccer, and he was listening. He goes, "Dad, you sound a little scared." I said, "Well, I walked in a dark room, had no idea," and then at the end, I was just like, it was no big deal, right? Yeah. So my daughter and everybody, the kids, they're doing presentations, and Sammy came to Dad, I think it really stunk at that. I said, no. I said, most people sitting in are jealous that you can even get up there in front of them, right? Right. I'm going to say the majority. What, 95%? We all agree with that, probably?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're just not born. I don't think some people are. I mean, you got a gift that you can talk,
Yeah.
you know. And I can do that now too. I can talk to anybody anytime about anywhere. You know, if you'd have told me 30 years ago, Wayne, you gonna be on my radio show with me? I said, heck no,
Heck no.
no.
Yeah.
I'm running for the mountains, man. There's no way I'm doing that crap, you know. But you know,
Yeah.
it takes a lot. But you have to face your fears to overcome them. And, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, people do say that. They go, Greg, you really have no trouble talking to people. And I say, well, I'll tell you what, when you grow up in a family-owned business, and my father was a computer wholesaler, we did expos and trade shows and things like that. I was 12 years old. And he goes, hey, I just bought 4,000 of these sound cards. I need you to go sell 2,000 of them before the end of the day. I'm 12, okay? There's 400 vendors. Don't come back until you got them sold. You learn real quick how to introduce yourself and, you know,
Right.
and start talking. And I look back on it and go, well, that probably shaped my personality a little bit, but it also, I think it was a benefit. It was, you know, we talk in schools and education right now, you know, how to speak in front of people, interview well, and things like that. And it's like every job I went and interviewed for, I did really well in, just because I was just having a conversation. I mean, heck, I was
Right.
talking to, you know, these guys who had multi-million-dollar business trying to hawk a, you know, $42 sound card to them in 1989. This is easy, you know, after that. So for me, it goes back to like what you said, repetition. And I did that from 12 to probably 19 or 20 years old. So just constantly in front of people, constantly talking, having a, you know, confidence in the business and the product I'm selling, things like that. And that was all because of a small business.
Right.
That was a 6-person, maybe 7-person business at the height of it, but learned a lot of life skills in that. Which I can only, you know, I look at your family business and I love it. I go, geez, man, my kids are 9, 7, and 4, and I'm going, when can I start employing them? Like, to give them that same experience, you know what I mean? Me and my brother, we complained about it a little bit. We're off loading up, you know, 25-foot rider trucks when all the other kids are, you know, playing barnyard football.
Right.
But there was life skills being learned there too. And you look back on it on my age now and you go, wow, what a great thing. So I do agree with you there. But as we get towards the end of the show here, I wanted to talk to you, speaking about being on radio. You have a radio show coming up
Yep.
right here on Monroe County Radio, correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you talk about that a little bit? What it's going to be, when it's going to air, the format, things like that.
Okay, well, it's going to air. Well, let's go. The name of it's going to be "Help You Build" with Wayne Pavlika.
Okay.
The first show is going to be March 30th,
Okay.
Saturday, 10
10 a.m.
Again, 10 a.m. So I'll be pretty excited. What we're going to do is we'll pick different topics, you know, every week, and bring some guest speakers in, and you know, some, like, you know, you said it earlier before. I said there's 3 words I tell everybody in a thing. They go, what's that? They say, I got a question for you. I go, what's that? I said, I'll give you the answer. It's 3 famous words. Hire a professional.
Hire a
Okay?
professional, right,
So
yeah.
like you said, when you try to
Yeah.
you can't do everything, but you get the right people. So we'll be bringing some guest speakers in, you know, some kitchen people, and you know, we got closet guy that's going to be probably in with us, some other people. So we want to actually bring those people in so they can, you know, show people what's out there. So we want to educate people how to hire contractors, you know,
Okay.
some of the things that you want to do to be careful of, because a lot of people don't know how to do that stuff, right?
Sure.
So
I mean, this is just only homeowners. Even if you're in a loft, condo, apartment, you got small
Doesn't
repairs
matter.
around the house. You got to hire a painter. You got to do these
Right.
things. That'll be good for those people too, as
Yeah,
well.
and that's what
It's a
we're
broad
gonna-
audience.
And then we're gonna set it up so you can email us questions.
Oh, cool.
So when you email the questions, then the next radio show will answer all those questions for you. So and it's sometimes when I did my other show, I used to tell people, say, call in with your questions. I said, because your question's probably going to answer a lot of questions for a lot of people you don't know what it is, right?
Right.
So your question could answer one for 10, 12 different people. They might want, maybe they didn't want to call, they were afraid to be on the radio, you know.
Right.
So I said, just like talking on the radio, and they, you know, they're like, wow, really? I said, yeah, just go. But we're going to have it so they can email in those questions.
Okay.
And so I'm pretty excited about it.
Okay.
As of course, then Becky walks into my office, talks to my wife. I walk in later. Next thing you know, Lori said, they look at me, both of them said, "You're doing a radio show." I said,
Doing a radio
"Really? Here we go again."
Hey,
You know,
well,
so
that's what you get when you're just sticks and bricks, man. You gotta,
You're right.
when they tell you to do something, you gotta go do
and I
it.
do it well. You can ask.
And that'll be right here on MonroeCountyRadio.com, correct?
Yes.
And give us the date and the time one more time.
So,
for people
March
listening or
30th.
watching. March 30th is the
At
first
10
show.
o'clock.
10 o'clock.
And in fact, I think we're going to air the last Saturday of every month. Is that correct?
Okay.
So our first show we're going to do is going to be all, you know, kind of, God, sounds repetitious, third time in like a week and a half. Kind of explain what we do and how
Sure.
we do it, and give some people some background a little bit. And I think we're going to branch off into a couple of other things too,
Yeah.
because I don't think anybody wants to hear about me for another hour.
I
so.
think taking the questions is a really good move too, because I think you've probably heard a lot of the same questions over all your years of experience, but you always get one or two in there and you go, that's a new one. And the
Yeah.
new questions are always the funnest for me when I own a business, is going, I've never heard of that situation, or I got to figure that out for them. So I think that might be interesting, getting those questions.
I did my last show was live. So when people called in, I had to listen carefully and I had to have an answer for them. But I told them, I said, if I don't know the answer, I will research and call you. So
Sure.
we're going to offer also the opportunity that, because, if I don't come in for another month, it's
Sure.
going to take a month to answer that question. So we want people to be able to email us with the question. We'll return the email with an answer right away, so
Sure.
they're not waiting 4 weeks to get
Right.
it. Or we're going to give them the opportunity to call the office, and we'll talk to them directly on it.
Sure.
So that goes back.
But then
to,
also answer it online, on
the air,
air
right.
as well, so that way if there's other people listening to that
Right.
issue. Okay.
Yeah, so when it comes down to it, it's going back to giving back, right? And my deal, I was carpentry skills and what I do, so I
Yeah.
think I can give that back to people whenever I can help them do, and so I'm looking pretty excited about what can I give back to the community again here,
Yeah.
and that's.
And I would say too, what great insight by our fearless leader here, Michelle Pallid, for going out in the community, and she finds these people and says, "Let's get them on the air. Let's expose these professions, and and give them a voice so other people can learn from it too." But as we wrap up here, we have about 4 or 5 minutes left in the show. I kind of wanted to ask you, since you've been around a little bit, you're obviously experienced.
I'm older than dirt.
That
You
was,
know
a,
I've been
that,
around,
was a,
so-
that was a nice way. That was a nice way of calling you an old man, Wayne. But I got to
can't-
respect my elders. My
I have
father
no,
taught me.
I have
so.
no argument. So
So, if you could give one or two pieces of advice for a business owner or someone who's looking to start a business or maybe expand or even has an idea and goes, I want to get into business for myself. Obviously, someone with you with over 40 years experience in that small business experience. What are some important things, maybe one or two things that you think you would throw out to a youngin maybe that's going, I want to get into construction, or I want to get into communication, I want to do something on my own, no matter what profession it is.
Well,
What do you think?
I say you go talk to the right people.
Okay.
Okay, so if you
In
want
that
to
industry, maybe.
you want to talk
Okay.
about communication, like this stuff, should you talk to me or should you talk to Michelle? Right?
Right.
So make sure you're getting your information from the right people.
That's actually really good advice.
that's
a lot of
like,
people don't take.
right. Don't
Run it
talk.
by their friend who doesn't know.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah, sounds like a great idea.
well, I have people do that to me too. Well, this guy remodeled a bathroom. That doesn't mean you're a home inspector. It's
Right.
like, really.
Yeah,
So
I
it
can
goes
change
back
out a
to getting
toilet, too.
getting the right information. I think second of all, you should try to find a mentor or something that will help
Yeah.
you and guide you and teach you those
That's a good
things. In the construction business, a lot of people that fail because they come to work for you and they think, the boss is making all this money. Well, like I said before, the sticks and bricks of the business is easy. Putting things together is a piece of cake. It's the business end of it that kills people. They don't realize they got taxes to pay, insurances, and everything else to take care of. And they completely, they get a big draw check from a job. Next thing you know, drive a new truck. Well, then their bills are due the 10th of the month. They go, I got no money to pay it, right?
Right.
So I think having a mentor or some sort that's a business professional that can help you. Now, there is have you ever heard SCORE? It's the
Senior Corps of Retired Executives.
bingo. Yeah, it's a
Say it again on the mic.
It's the Senior Corps of Retired
Retired
Executives. They're
Okay.
actually a free service, right? And you can actually call them, and they'll get a mentor with you to help you get started, whatever you want to do, whatever business,
that's
whatever
cool.
it is. It's kind of one of those things. A lot of things you don't hear about like that.
I've never heard of it.
Well,
I
see,
think I would have.
I educate you.
Learned something
See?
new.
Yeah, I think Lori taught me
57
about it. So.
minutes to teach yourself. Well, the mentorship is very important. There was a gentleman I was watching on a YouTube channel. I can't remember his name. I think it's Tayo Lopez, but he has a mentorship a third. So a third of the time he's always mentoring someone. A third of the time he's always looking for a new mentor. A third of the time he's being mentored. And he kind of lives life through, and he goes, and he also made a point, if you go up to someone and say, hey, will you mentor me? And they go, sure. He goes, you don't want them as a mentor. You need to ask 5 or 6 times because they're busy, they're doing stuff, like,
Right.
you know what I mean? And it was just this thing where mentorship is such an important key to that, like attaching yourself to someone who has experience, who's been there. I've always said too, personally, it's so crazy in our society how we've made it all youth centered. Youth, yes, you're energetic, but that's the time you're supposed to be dumb and make mistakes.
Right.
It's the elder, it's the older people that, time is the most precious resource we have in this world. No one's guaranteed any of it. And why, so if it's the most precious resource, I want to spend my time with the guy or the gal that has accumulated the most of that. You know, I go to the Bedford Senior Center. I just sit down. I'll talk to 2-3 hours, and you know, I'll talk to a gentleman and go, "Hey, tell me all the mistakes you made from 20 to 50 years old in about 10 minutes, so then I don't have to make those mistakes and learn it over 30 years." And I think sometimes you can apply that to business and too under mentorship, just like you said. Go find that person who's either done that experience, had that experience, or is successful at that experience, and you can learn a lot.
Well, I think too that if you think you want to get into a type of business, you might want to call a company and see if you can shadow with them for a little bit.
There you go.
And just kind of hang on their hip and say, "Hey, do I really want to do this, or I not want to do it?" So they can see the inside, the nitty gritty stuff that they don't see, the fluffy on the outside, right? You want to get right down to the right down to the bare bones of what's
Sure.
actually happening. And I think sometimes that'll kind of open some eyes.
Yeah.
Of what if you own a company, like we said earlier, it's hard work, it's dedication, hard work, and
Absolutely.
and it just you got to have a mentality that when people say you say no, who cares? Go to the next one.
Absolutely.
Don't dwell on what you don't have. Like I tell people, I used to not, if I wouldn't get I bid a big edition, I didn't get it. I get so mad at first. Like, what did I do wrong? Why?
Sure.
Well, then I was dwelling and I was spending so much time on something I couldn't control.
Yep.
I said, well, let's focus on the next job.
Yep.
Let's see what we got to do to make it better. Maybe we should go look at maybe the numbers. Maybe we got to look at why didn't I get that edition? Let's try to
A
make
little
it better.
introspecting, which
Right.
is lost on our culture as well.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just
What
saying.
did I do instead of what did someone else do? Yeah.
Right, but you look at it, you go, I just spent how many wasted, okay, time is precious, right?
Yeah.
I just lost maybe 2 hours of my life dwelling on something I couldn't control.
Yeah, absolutely. Wayne, that was all good stuff. The hour just flew by. Wayne Pavlika, I appreciate you coming in. Inside Out Inspections, ladies and gentlemen, check them out if you need residential or commercial inspections or anything in construction. What a great guy to know. I will put the links in the bottom of the Facebook page. And everyone at Monroe County Radio, thank you for listening. Have a good week.
Very good.
Shazam.
Shazam.
Holy shit, Batman.
Thanks, Wayne. I appreciate you coming
You
in.
got a
are-
phone call and they left a message.
You
and I
are
didn't
such
know
a
how to get
professional
rid
at
of
this.
it.
Oh, that's okay.
Holy moly. I'm so glad you did this because now with your show